Good day, good morning, good afternoon to the entire world watching this wonderful podcast. And I have a very illustrious guest today, Dr. Patrick Sim. I met Patrick years ago when we were doing work and battles in the association and trying to get chiropractic on track. And he's done the ultimate. He's done the ultimate. You know, just about everyone I've interviewed on this thing has said that it all comes down to education. So Dr. Sim has cut to the chase and started his own chiropractic, the only private chiropractic college in Australia. Welcome, Pat Sim.
Thank you very much, Joe. It's great to be here, and thanks for the invite to have a chat.
Love having a chat, mate. How did you do it? What have you done? And what do you hope to achieve?
Well, there's some big questions there, Joe. Yeah. Well, thanks firstly for the introduction. It's very difficult to say it's my thing or my college. We certainly have done this not on my own. Whilst perhaps I've been at the front of it, at the face of it, it's taken quite a lot of effort. And at the moment, I'm in the admin offices downstairs at the ACC. And we wouldn't be here without the support of countless chiropractors around Australia. So we have raised an enormous amount of cash from private chiropractors, actually. So no government money at all to set this place up, and in close to $4 million since 2016. Wow. So, whilst we're doing the keyboard tapping and everything else, this is very much the chiropractic college of those chiropractors. It's certainly not mine.
It takes collaboration and all that. A chiropractor called Robert Cowan once said to me, "You alone can do it, but you cannot do it alone." So where are we at? We got any people there? We got any brains being filled up? What's going on?
Yeah, we are. We do. So yeah, as far as the people who have got us here, there are three other chiropractors who are very worthy of mentioning. They are Mark Postles, who would be familiar to a lot of people. Yep. Mark profession for who knows how many years. I'd like to think even before Dee was alive, Mark Postles was around. And then classmate of mine, Aaron Scott, and then a chiropractor of quite some note here in Adelaide, a guy called Hayden Bell. His dad was also a chiropractor. So it was the four of us really who spent time strategizing and coming up with the tactics and then listening to advice about how to get this up and going. So it's the four of us really who have pushed this on. But we realized very quickly that we were chiropractors, and whilst we may or may not be good at being chiropractors, we certainly didn't have any skills when it came to higher education or setting up a college. So we were very honest with ourselves about our abilities there. We reached out to people who were in higher education and in legislation to help us with the process. This is where a guy called Michael Wells was very, very important for us. The biggest hurdle we had was having to get through an organisation called TEXA. So trying to put this in some sort of analogy here, we as chiropractors in Australia need to be registered through AHPRA. And AHPRA has this other entity called the Chiropractic Board of Australia, and we sort of register through that Board of Australia through to AHPRA. TEXA are very much like that, but for higher education. Okay, so they're the organisation that registers all the universities in Australia, and we had to get through their processes to be able to teach. And so that was a very difficult process. Michael Wells was a former commissioner. There's three commissioners that run TEXA. So we had the very best advice to get through that process. And of course, once we did do that, we had to find faculty and the expertise in order to teach. So initially we had Sharon Eaton, who got our curriculum up and going. She then handed the reins over to Naveen Hayworth, who's now our academic dean. And then there's a whole number of other academic teaching staff underneath that, and of course the professional staff that help run things from a corporate point of view. So it's quite a big organisation, and way more than just the teaching chiropractic. We're more of a chiropractic institution that's delivering higher education. I think that's how we like to think of it.
Wow. And I know some of your wonderful teachers, Mark Feldman, David Hanno, you're recruiting some good people. But yeah, that other side behind the scenes is something people don't see. However, how many students have you got? And what defines your college? Why should I send somebody to you as a student? But how many you got so far?
Sure. Well, we took in 10 students in 2020. So in January 2020, I started teaching to 10 students, to a lot of fanfare, a lot of excitement. We ran a very large event here on campus called Concordia in March that year. On that weekend, we had some of our speakers pull out. So Rob Scott was flying in from Life University. He touched down in Sydney, opened his emails, and had to head straight back to Atlanta because COVID. So, we weeks, and then we had to shut everything down. And we were terrified about where it would lead us. But we decided to hibernate, which meant that we were going to suspend all our teaching operations. Fortunately, things like JobKeeper kicked in, so we were able to keep a lot of our people at certainly a far reduced rate, but kept them going, which allowed us to reconfigure, catch our breath. And then in January this year, we relaunched. And we relaunched to not just the students from last year, but to another 20. So we sort of tripled our student cohort.
Oh, wow.
To 30. It's been quite remarkable. And we've just made it through our first semester. And from what I understand, and these results aren't official, but from what I understand, all those students have done very, very well. Wow. So there are 30 buddy on breaks at the moment. They come back next week and they commence semester 2. So what differentiates us from the other programs? Well, completely funded by the profession. So this is the Chiropractic College of Australia. There's no interference from other bodies. Our board, which runs the college, has the majority of chiropractors on it. So nothing can change within the organisation, within the education of chiropractors, unless that board agrees to it. And this is very, very different to the university programs where university programs themselves are a very small part of a very large organisation. And so the amount of control that the profession has over those programs is much, much smaller. The other thing is that we see ourselves as more traditional in our view of chiropractic. We believe in subluxation and we teach subluxation. We teach adjustment. We believe that having great manual skills is critical to being a very good chiropractor. So it's hands-on from day one. We also understand that chiropractic doesn't exist within public health, really. So you need to be able to run your own private business. And so therefore, being able to understand business and set up for a business is critical to our graduates. So that's also another important part of what we're trying to do, is make sure that our graduates are completely, not just practice ready, but business ready.
It's starting to sound like a lot of old buggers like me want to come back to college and school and go through a decent. I was lucky enough to go through Palmer though, but it sounds like, it's a sort of place where I can see postgraduate stuff for older people like me or more seasoned chiropractors. But look, just training the basics in that context is wonderful. And what else have you got to add, mate? What else are you excited about in terms of covering, say, technique or how you, how do you rely on your anatomy? Is that done on cadavers anymore, or is it virtual? And what techniques are you teaching there to give people a bit of a well-rounded look?
Yeah, sure. Well, firstly, I might say that the purpose for setting up the college, it's going to sound bizarre, wasn't actually to teach and produce chiropractors. It was really to protect the principle, to protect the philosophies. So, we tried this in lots of different ways, you and I, through associations and other means. And we realized that process was sort of backwards. We had sort of missed the key part, which is like the education of chiropractors, which is why we decided to set up a college. We thought if we can produce chiropractors to understand the principle, to understand the philosophies and can apply that in a modern day setting. So that's important too, that we are still very current with our thinking and our science. Then that's going to get the best way to protect chiropractic for the future. So for me, this was not about the establishment of a higher education institution. It was making sure that my kids, great-grandkids, have access to chiropractic. And that's what pushes and motivates me. In terms of the mechanics of upstairs, so far what we've done is a lot of hands-on, just getting the hands ready for the body. So a lot of anatomy, looking at that. We have several ways of doing that. We have access to the Ray Last anatomy labs, which are the University of Adelaide's anatomical department. And we offer tours there. We can't make that compulsory though. There's many cultural issues that come into dealing with cadavers. So that's a voluntary thing for our students. But nowadays there's a lot of virtual programs that students can use to understand anatomy a whole lot more. So we're making, so there are things like the anatomage tables, which we don't have, but there's also a lot of phone apps now, which you can just peel away the layers. Much better than a book. And of course, we've got all the models, everything else upstairs as well. So that's how it's and it's been taught by a chiropractor. So John Abanchich has taken that on. As far as technique goes, this semester, so second semester, we start going into actual technique. So Gonstead is taught in the next semester, Diversified is taught next semester, and so is drop table. So students, again, in their first year with us, are getting straight into the real art of chiropractic.
Well, that's great, mate. Well, thank you for spending some time today, Pat. I know you're busy, so we'll keep it short and sweet, and maybe we'll do some updates in the future. But is there anything else you wish to add to that?
Well, we are the Chiropractic College of Australia, so we still need funding. Your support, whether it be by referring students to us, or if you have some money you'd like to put towards us, then please do. Again, so many people have got behind us so far. Coming into next year, I think we get to break even, which is very exciting for us. But until that point, we're still relying quite heavily on donations and gifts. So thanks again, Joe, for the opportunity to have a chat to you.
Well, I'm happy to put it out there and hope that we get a lot of views, and I'll create some awareness about the Aussie Down Under Principled Chiropractic College. Thanks a lot, Dr. Pat Sim.
Thanks, Joe.
Cheers. Bye-bye.